Hey, welcome to Genre Exposure, a film podcast. Join us as we explore the wide world of cinema, broaden our horizons one movie at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dustin, and as usual, I am here with Jason.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, my dude?
Hanging out, doing good. You know, work week's almost over.
It is. It's the perfect time.
The weekend is upon us.
The perfect time to pod.
Right. And there are some interesting horror films out.
There are.
I have been slacking. I did go see one, which I will talk about shortly. But there are several out I have not seen yet and wish to do so.
Yeah. I'm sad because I really want to catch Sinners, and I think I'm going to miss it before it...
It's still playing next week, I think.
Oh, maybe then. Maybe.
Yeah, I want to try to catch it, too.
I saw they announced the streaming and, home media dates, so I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. It's been too busy. This past weekend we were in Georgia, and I just ate up 4 days.
Yeah, we missed another episode drop. Got to talk about that out the gate.
Yeah, sorry, folks.
Sorry, folks. It happens to be that way. Technically my fault this time because we knew about your trip. I was planning around that, and then had some car trouble. Mm-hmm. Got diverted on that.
Had little gremlins in your engine.
Yeah. Damn bastards.
Those damn foreign cars.
Give them a little snack after midnight, and the next thing you know, there's 500 of them, and they're like lemmings with no sense of preservation. They just gun it to the water.
Yep. Every fucking time.
Every fucking time. Everyone I know is dead.
Towns burned to the ground.
I think I got them all. I don't know. There's enough for a few sequels in there, I guess. Today, we're talking about The Cottage from 2008.
Indeed.
You picked this.
I did.
It's a British slasher, we might say off the top, before we get more into it. Mm-hmm. But first, we're going to talk about what we've been watching, like whatever you went to the theaters to see.
Yes.
And all that good stuff. But first, two things. So number one, we are part of the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, and we love it. There's all kinds of other cool shows you can check out, see what they're getting into. Fill your ear holes with awesome knowledge of movies and other hobby-related stuff. But speaking of that, we got a really nice shout-out from another show.
We did.
Yes. So as you would say, our network mates from the show I Like It Spooky, they're awesome because they're really super prolific. I think we talked about them way back, maybe when they first launched.
Yeah, this was episode 306.
Yeah, but they have a lot of episodes. They cover a lot of grounds on different stuff. Mm-hmm. Aside from just reviewing movies, they also talk about different topics in horror and other things. And they have one series they've been doing where they kind of spot indie related stuff. So they decided to have an episode about horror podcasts and movie podcasts
from the Prescribed Films Network.
Mm-hmm. And so they kind of each just picked a different show to talk about and highlight a little bit, get into what they're doing, what they're about, why you would want to listen to them. Mm-hmm. Just a little mini review.
Yeah.
And we got an honorable mention in there, which is super cool.
Yeah, Clint listened to us. Yeah, got some nice things to say.
Thank you guys. We love you. It was super nice, super generous.
It was indeed.
His commentary, I loved it because it was so true and so everything he said, I was just you know what? I 100% agree with that. Mm-hmm. Even the criticisms. I was yes.
Which were minor, I think, and constructive. Yeah, no, 100%. Dead on.
But my favorite thing, and I makes me feel yes, we are kind of doing what we set out to do, is I think he listened to The Grifters, right? Because he said in the episode when he's talking about it, he was they're recent ones. He's he had a good comment in general that was podcast is only as good as their most recent episode.
Right.
Which is an awesome concept, and I think that's super true.
Yeah, because few people go back to the very first episode to check it out.
You got to really be into it to go the whole catalog back to front. And so he was their recent episodes was this two-parter about the Three Musketeers.
So I don't care about that.
And he doesn't care about the Musketeers.
I don't think a lot of people cared about the Musketeers.
Which immediately, I posed that question in those episodes. I was is this kind of an outdated thing that's you know, kind of going by the wayside, or in 20 years will there be another reboot? Maybe it's done. Also, I can see our numbers of what we do on the backside, and I'm gonna say those are probably our worst performing episodes.
No, we are just 20 years ahead of the curve. In 20 years, it's going to be a Three Musketeer mania.
Oh no, the truth is that 50% of the time I'm at the steering wheel and I'm a lit nerd, so it was bound to happen. So he backtracked to The Grifters to sample.
A great movie. If you haven't seen it.
Interesting film.
We disagreed on it, and they commented on the fact
and that was the big thing. It was our discourse, but I loved at the end because he was even though the other guy had a bunch of negative stuff to say, his points were valid, and it made me want to watch the movie more.
Right.
And truthfully, anytime I kind of shit on a film on here, that's my goal is to be if you haven't seen it, I want you to leave intrigued. Like, is it that bad? Could
Yeah.
it be?
Right.
And then either way, that pushes you to go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's like, no, I was really taken aback by your reaction, and that was not like me being facetious or anything. I was genuinely pissed at you.
If we can go behind the curtains for a minute, we do sometimes punch ourselves up just to make it fun. But
no,
that
was
really
a
caught you off
genuine
guard.
reaction.
It was
Yeah.
super funny. So thank you for the shout out. Thank you for the kind comments and criticisms. We love you guys.
Yeah, it's great.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep up the good work.
Very awesome.
Yep.
Now, what have you been watching?
Okay, so I did make it to the theater
Yes.
with our buddy and former co-host Michael
Woo!
to go see Clown in a Cornfield.
Yeah, I was gonna come and couldn't make it because of said car trouble.
Yes, Evil Gremlins. Directed by Eli Craig. And
So this is
co-written
based
by
on a
him.
novel I know.
Yeah, the YA novels.
Yeah, and it's got a few sequels, right?
Yes, it does. And Eli Craig is the director of Tucker and Dale vs. Evil,
Oh, cool.
which is a great movie.
It is.
I recommend that if you haven't seen it. I, however, cannot in good conscience recommend this.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was worried because the first thing you guys told me was, yeah, you can probably just wait for it to stream.
Yeah. Yeah. It's...
So what went wrong?
I mean, it's fine for a low budget picture, and it only has like the budget was only like over $1 million.
Nice.
It looks like $100. Well, like I said, okay, it looks like $5 million.
Okay,
How's that?
there you go. Sure.
It looks really good.
Cool.
The actors are fine. The characters are pretty much what you would expect.
But it's kind of a slashery thing,
It's
right?
a slashery
so
thing.
You want
There's
that.
the clown in the cornfield type thing. Yeah, it doesn't bring anything new to the table.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It's just sort of meh. You know, it's very boring. There's a couple of good kills. I think if it's the first slasher you've ever seen, like if there's like, you know, a 17-year-old, he's kind of getting into horror and he goes to see this, he'll probably be perfectly happy.
Okay.
But if you've been around the block like we have, this is nothing new, nothing special.
So not going to become an enduring franchise.
No, it's not.
We're not going to get Art versus Friendo.
No, we
down
are
the line.
not. No, I don't.
Which
I don't
Art,
think
Art would win. Let me just
the
say
Friendo
that.
wouldn't last very long. I'm just going to tell you that right now. The plot's pretty preposterous, even for a slasher flick. It's really kind of out there. Michael told me because he read the books. He said there was some deviation, and it's not as good as the book, which isn't a big surprise. Movies rarely are.
Par for the course.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just you can pass on this one. Maybe catch it streaming. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still kind of want to see it just because.
Oh, you'll probably come back and say, "Oh man, it's brilliant. You're a
Dude,
fucking idiot.
5 stars. I don't know what you guys were talking about.
So this is better than Muck."
Hey now.
So yeah, pass on that one.
Okay. Been watching anything else? Anything cool going on?
Yeah, a couple of other things I want to touch on real quick because Andor has wrapped up. I've already talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And now it's done. And oh my fucking God. It is so fucking good. It's easily the best Star Wars since Empire.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better than the first season?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it really is. Like a lot of people are complaining because they're saying, "Oh, it's not Star Wars." You know, there's no lightsabers. You know, spoiler if you haven't seen it. And I think that's a good thing. You know, it's okay to do different things with Star Wars. It doesn't need to be the same thing over and over and over because that's gotten very boring.
There's room for both, I think. Yeah.
There is room for both. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And it's okay to make a show that has nothing to do with the Jedi. Because frankly, I think that the Jedi and stuff have gotten really overused. You look back at the original trilogy and like, you know, Obi-Wan, Luke's supposed to be the last one, but apparently there's like at least 50 other Jedi surviving around the galaxy.
Plus, every time we play the role-playing game, that is my character concept.
Right.
Is
A Jedi shows up.
a Jedi that survived the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And is in hiding.
So
Fuck you. It makes me happy, and I don't care.
That's fine.
No one has to watch us role play, so
No, they do not. They do not.
I will be wish fulfilled every single time.
Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, if you have not watched Andor for any reason, you like Star Wars, check it out. Even if you don't like Star Wars, you might like it even better. Like if you were put off by all the Filoni stuff, like Ahsoka and all that, where you kind of have to watch the Clone Wars cartoon to really get everything.
Got to be up on everything, all the lore.
Yeah, this is like prestige television. Like you could make this could be not Star Wars. It could be set in the modern day. You know,
Could be like Shogun.
sort of. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's brilliant. The acting is brilliant. Writing is brilliant. It looks amazing because they're not just shooting on the volume. They're actually using real sets and real locations.
Hey, remember that?
Yeah, I know. I know. It's beautiful. It looks amazing. So check out Andor. Another one I want to talk about real quick is streaming on HBO. It is Pee Wee Herman as himself. It's a new 2-part documentary about Paul Reubens.
Cool.
I am a huge Pee Wee Herman fan. Not ashamed to say it. Pee Wee's hilarious. Pee Wee's Big Adventure is like one of my favorite films. Not joking.
Yeah, I mean, we cut it out every time we record an episode, but there's invariably be a point where I'll say something and then you just go, ah!
I do every time.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's really interesting doc. Like if you're not that familiar with him, which I didn't like go into his history as there's a lot of stuff he was very avant-garde. He was out early in his life and just doing all these experimental films and stuff.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, and then he got into the character of Pee-wee, and then he just tried to scrub all of that away so people wouldn't know anything. Like he wasn't he wasn't out, and he went back in the closet. He like pretty much bought up all the old little independent movies he was in, so no one would see them. It's really, really interesting, fascinating stuff.
Cool.
But it's and it was filmed literally right before he died.
Oh.
The producer had no idea that he had cancer at the time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cool little like final kind of legacy thing.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So check that out. I think you'll like it.
Killer. I like it.
What have you been watching, my friend?
I've got 2 films and an update on a show. We'll get that show out of the way first. Mobile Suit Gundam G-Quacks. We're deep in it now.
Fucking title, man.
Everything's getting crazy. There's about to be a civil war between the different factions within Xeon that control the space colonies. We're learning all kinds of secrets and more of the lore of what's going on in this alternate timeline of the Universal Century. Man, it's so good. There's only about 4 episodes left, so in about a month it'll be wrapped up, I think, unless it's like they're going to have a season 2. They're being cagey about that, so...
And this is on Prime?
It's streaming on Prime. Yep. It's great, dude. I've just loved it so much. The action is great. The storytelling's great. It's a little fast-paced, which, I mean, I can see if they're only going to have, like, the 12 episodes.
Well, let's face it, a lot of anime shows kind of drag. There's just a lot.
Because, back in the day, a Gundam show, you're always, like, guaranteed it would have aired for a year and had 50 episodes. And so they do have these big, epic plots because they have 50 episodes to build up to that.
Even something like Robotech, I could have done a little bit less Min-Mei. Fewer Min-Mei episodes. Whatever.
Oh, but she's adorable. That's neither here nor there. That's a bonus episode one day. But yeah, it's just been great. If you love mecha, if you love sci-fi, if you love giant robots, get in there. What are you doing? Give it a watch.
Sweet.
Now, movie-wise, I have 2 I want to talk about. An oldie and a new thing that I watched.
Okay.
So the oldie, recently, one night, Tiffany nodded off early, and I was just trying to find something. I was like, I'm going to watch a movie. Take this opportunity to indulge my cinema enjoyment.
Right.
And I kind of got in that little trap of, like, you're just jumping between the different streaming services.
God, I hate that. I waste so much time doing that.
My mini video store is just, like, 2 rooms away, but I'm too lazy to even get up and go and grab something.
It would probably take longer to go through that than it does
will.
to scroll.
I would have to decide what I want to take off the shelf. I have to, like, switch the inputs to get to the DVD Blu-ray player thing and put it in, get it started, get through the menu. A whole lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, it's like an overly lengthy masturbation ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, you just... no. So I was like, I've just got to find something. And I couldn't commit to anything, and I just kept like, oh, go on Shudder. Now I'm out of Shudder. Oh, let's see what's Prime got. What's Max got? Us getting like that Max Disney Hulu bundles kind of hurt me because now it's like there's even more choice.
Right.
And so finally I was like, fuck it. Going with Shudder, anything I can find on there. And I'm just scrolling through.
It's hard to go wrong with Shudder.
And then it's like, okay, there's new stuff. And I was like, I'm not really in the mood to like watch something new though. I don't want to have to like focus and really like give it my honest attention.
Okay.
So like maybe I just rewatch something. And then I couldn't commit. And then I just kind of randomly settled on one. I was like, whatever, fuck it, let's go. And I revisited from 1990, directed by Ron Underwood, Tremors.
Oh, dude, you can never go wrong with Tremors. Fucking awesome movie.
So awesome, so fucking fun. I always forget how goofy it is at the start.
Yeah.
And you really like it the first time. After the first time you get it, but like the very first time, I can remember my impression where I was like, this is going to be so stupid and obnoxious. I can't do this.
Don't you miss movies that actually spent a little bit of time to set up the world and the characters?
Yeah, it's cool, and I like that little world they're in of just like this rural desert town, and how they make their way with everything. You know, Val and Earl just kind of being like random handymen that'll just do anything that you pay them for.
They have such great chemistry. I wish Bacon came back for sequels, and they were like not direct-to-video sequels, but
Michael Gross, he's fucking awesome as well.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's the through line of the franchise.
Sure.
I think he's been in like every single sequel.
Fred Ward was in the second one, I think.
Yeah.
I've always been a big Fred Ward fan.
I quite like the second one.
Okay.
Is that another conversation for another time?
It's fine.
But yeah, Tremors, it holds up. It's super fun. Fucking love it.
Yeah, great flick.
If it's been a while, maybe it's time to go back.
It's so funny. So great.
And then, despite my many issues getting out to the theater this year, I had to go out to see this one certain movie because The Weeknd created a film.
Okay.
And you know my deep, deep love of The Weeknd. I actually have tickets to see him live on his tour this year.
Oh,
I'm excited about that too.
Nice.
But this is Hurry Up Tomorrow, the tie-in film for his latest album, also called Hurry Up Tomorrow, which he crafted with director Trey Edward Schultz, who you may know from It Comes at Night, the A24 film that I think many hold in like lesser regard, but they shouldn't because it's actually pretty damn good.
That is a great fucking movie.
Awesome fucking movie.
You're saying fucking a lot in this episode.
I am. Yeah,
We both are.
I'm jazzed up.
All right. Let's do it.
I got energy. So yeah, this movie. What have people said about it in the public? Let's see.
It's not getting good reviews.
It's not getting good reviews. It's got about a 2 average right now on Letterboxd.
It's pretty bad.
People have said things like,
it sucks. It's pretentious.
The fans are tired of The Weeknd. The Weeknd has now made the worst movie that ever existed.
Okay, it can't be that bad. It's not Skinamarink.
Completely undecipherable and pointless. Extended music video.
Yeah, for the
comparisons to Thriller, you know.
Thriller.
Yeah.
Thriller's awesome.
Well, just in that, you know, it's like
a music video.
A music video, like caged in a slight plot.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you one thing. They're wrong. No, so what this is about, it's a fictionalized version of his own career, kind of. And when it opens, it's just about him, like, about to go do one of these big stadium shows, and he's in a bad place in his life. He's had a recent breakup that's been very tumultuous, and he still wants to get back with her, but he's kind of the one that was at fault, and so she wants nothing to do with him, and he's obsessing over that. And meanwhile, Barry Keoghan is playing his manager, and he's trying to keep him on track and keep him all about business, and his shortcut to do that is plenty of drugs and alcohol. Like any you know, superstar.
That's what keeps me going.
Yeah, for sure. I see you jittering over there. For all I know, you're coked up out of your mind. I don't know. I don't know what happened before I got here. But yeah, so he starts having these issues where like his stress is making him lose his voice, and it's actually based on a real thing that actually happened to The Weeknd, or you could call him Abel, his actual name. I guess it was around the time The Idol was being made, that TV show, which I also talked about, which also was a little tumultuous and then wasn't received well by people. But he was under a lot of stress of that and the tour at the same time, and he had this thing where like literally he came out on stage and started singing, and like his voice just cut.
Wow.
And he couldn't sing anymore and just had to like walk off stage.
That's like the beginning of an Argento movie.
Yeah, it is. But it's actually a real condition, and it's one that's like very like stress, kind of like mental headspace related. They say it in the film. I don't remember.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Some technical word.
Yeah. So he is kind of then like in this like listless, like, what am I going to do? He's losing his direction. And then meanwhile, we have our third character played by Jenna Ortega. And she is like a super fan of the week.
I'm sorry?
Jenna Ortega.
Is she like some sort of a newcomer or something? Is she like...
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing a bit.
America's sweetheart, Jenna Ortega.
Yes.
In the film.
She's in everything right now, is my point.
I mean, if I made a own movie about myself and had to cast someone to be my love interest, I don't know.
You could do a lot worse.
But no, for serious, not jokes. She plays this character that's like a super fan, and we get like cuts of what her life is going on with, and it's very mysterious and abstract, and we see her burning down her house and then getting in a truck and driving off to go see his big tour, one of his performances.
Okay.
And that ends up being in the story of the film, the performance where he loses his voice. And so she kind of like runs to try to meet him, and they stumble into one another, and they have this like little accidental meet cute thing, and kind of hang out and like, go around, and she helps like let him forget about everything a little bit. They book a hotel room to kind of hide away. They hook up, and then the next morning he's kind of just an asshole to her, and it's like, whatever, I gotta go to Australia now and do my tour.
That's not cool.
And then she's like, what about all the shit you said, last night?
Yeah.
And so she knocks him out, abducts him, ties him up in the hotel room, and like kind of captures him. And it becomes this thing of her like trying to get him to admit like the faults in himself, because that's kind of like the mental block that's keeping him from like getting past all this stuff.
Right.
And she does that by sort of torturing him by making him listen to his own songs and other various things. Wow. There's a hilarious extended sequence where he is like tied down to a bed, and she goes through like, it's about 2, almost 3 songs of his where she plays the full song and like sings and dances to it, and then is like trying to talk with him about like what that song meant and what do you mean when you put these lines in there. And it just ramps up and gets like crazier and more unhinged. And then meanwhile his manager's trying to track him down to find him and get a hold of him, because again, superstar, all this money riding on the tour, got to get that under control. It had a lot of the same themes in some ways as The Idol, as far as like life in the music industry and being this big star and all the weight and responsibility and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I think where The Idol was like external and like looking at this character, this one's a lot more like internal, like from his POV, what's going on. And where people aren't really digging it, I think, is it gets super abstract, it gets super weird. There's some long extended dream sequences that you don't know if what's happening is real or what's going on is real, or lots of like caged metaphors. I won't spoil the ending, because I do think if you like a good like twisty mind bendy kind of movie, or if you dig any of his music at all, you should watch it, even if you come out and you're like, I don't know. I think it's worth seeing at least the one time.
Okay.
So I won't say where it goes or how it ends, but I'm going to give you the key, you and all the dear listeners, to understand this movie better, because I think people have forgotten some stuff. So all the people saying it's meaningless and that it's just weird, it doesn't make sense, is a very simple way to understand it. And it's something we've talked about before on this show, and that is our man, Carl Jung.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That old dude.
And his many theories of philosophy and the self and the mind. And the big secret, I think, is in Jenna Ortega's character, who is only given a first name, and that name is Anima.
Okay.
So if you know your Jung, and I won't go too deep into this time, but Anima is supposed to be one of those aspects of the self. Jung thought that every person had both like a side of themselves that embodied masculine traits and a side of themselves that embodied feminine traits. And each person, kind of whatever the opposite is, there was sort of a repressed part of that. And a woman, they would have an animus, and a man would have an anima. And again, he's from forever way back, so let's not get into like all other things of gender. That was what he thought. That was what he wrote. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the film is really more kind of metaphor-y, and a lot of it you could even say, like, did any of this even happen, or is it kind of all just in his head kind of deal? And like, it's like she's the personification of those repressed feminine traits and qualities in himself that he is, again, because everything with Jung is like about integration of like the anima, the part of yourself that's feminine that you don't want to acknowledge, or your shadow, the negative aspects of yourself that you know exist but you try to deny and hide away and fear. And to be like a whole, complete, realized person, you kind of face all of those and integrate them in yourself.
Okay.
I think a lot of the film is just that playing out in the like brackets of sort of like slow burn A24 kind of mind-bendy horror thriller thing.
All right. Okay.
So there you go. So if I had to like too long, didn't read, just sum up everything, I would say it's basically Stephen King's Misery by way of something like Prince's Purple Rain, because there's a lot of music aspect to it.
Yeah.
But then filtered through the lens of like a A24 horror film.
Okay.
That would be my like, if you just needed the quick info to run off of out the gate.
All right. All right.
And I thought it was awesome. I actually gave it 5 stars. Fuck everyone. I don't care.
Oh my God. Okay.
And there we are.
Yeah. I don't think it's the sort of thing I would watch.
Yeah. It's probably not for you. And you're not really into his music either. So.
Right. So that hurts. That doesn't help things. But if I were to manifest my feminine side, I would definitely pick Jonah Ortega. So,
For sure, yeah. Cool. Well, I guess let's talk about our movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's do
We
it.
can do that. All right, so today we're talking about The Cottage from 2008, directed by Paul Andrew Williams,
Directed and written by Paul Andrew Williams.
a man of many talents.
Indeed.
So what genre is this?
Okay, well, IMDb, the source of all movie knowledge, as you know.
It's now tag-based, we've learned.
Yes. Dark comedy, satire,
Sure.
slasher horror,
Yeah.
comedy,
Yeah.
crime,
Yeah.
horror, and thriller.
I don't think you need horror in there twice, but
Yeah, me neither.
Wikipedia just refers to it as a black comedy horror film, and I think that's about all you need to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think
You can say British.
you can throw crime in there too.
Yeah. The
'Cause-
crime angle's pretty heavy.
Yeah, because for the first half of it, like if you didn't know any better, you'd think it might just be a crime film.
Yeah. I'll hit you with the synopsis.
Okay.
A woman is kidnapped for ransom and brought to a rural English cottage. David and his two henchmen find that they have much more to worry about than her crime boss stepdad.
Oh, indeed. At least that doesn't give too much away.
No. And that's how you should go in. What do you want to say at the start? I won't spoil how I feel. This is a cool film, though. And the more you go in blind and unaware of where it goes and what happens, I think the more you'll get out of that first watch of it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say too much about it when I recommended it. Well, when I brought it forth. As the next movie.
So it's kind of hard to get a hold of. It's not really like re-released in anything. There's a DVD, which you have.
Yeah, ancient DVD when it came out. Bare
And then
bones.
there's kind of like some rips of that DVD online that you can track down if you know your way around the high seas. But
There's no Blu-ray. There's, sure as shit ain't no 4K.
no Blu-ray, no 4K. It's not streaming on anything that we can get at here in America.
Yeah.
Which really sucks because this is a damn good movie.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it forth, because it needs more fucking love and attention.
Yes.
So we open at night.
Crack into it.
Yeah, we open at night, and we see a nice big shot of the moon, and there's a big moth flying in front of it.
Yeah, very atmospheric.
And we kind of pan down, and we see this car driving along the road. And as you so astutely pointed out earlier, it has some very Danny Elfman-esque music.
Yeah, immediately I was like, what is this Danny Elfman bullshit? It's very Beetlejuice. That's like the vibe to
Yeah,
it.
which
like
ain't a
high
bad
energy
thing.
and
Yeah, but it also doesn't scream horror. It does scream maybe this is going to be sort of a fun little movie. So you don't think it's going to be like a grisly crime thriller or something going in.
I'll be honest, since we did pretty much have to like track this down by wayward means, or I did because I don't have the DVD. The place I found it at was more of a place that had like, it's more of like your guinea pig or like
Are they
your
effed up movies?
like your really extreme shit, and I was kind of like, okay, Jason, what game are you playing right now?
Man, that would be a 180.
So I didn't know what to expect at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't really belong on that site,
Yeah, I don't think so.
but at least it's there for people to find. So this car arrives at this small house in the country. I believe this is the titular cottage.
It is.
Two men go in.
Yeah, this is David and Peter, our main characters.
David is played by Andy Serkis, who most of you will know as Gollum. He was in the first season of Andor, a very, very memorable character.
Yeah, he was Claw in Black Panther as well.
Yeah, he's been in tons of shit.
Underutilized as a villain for Marvel,
Yeah,
as they tend to do.
right.
And then Peter's played by Reese Shearsmith,
I am less familiar with him.
but he's fucking hilarious.
He's great.
He's great in this.
They both play off each other very well.
And they've abducted a woman named Tracy, played by Jennifer Ellison. And she is great because she has very much like the 2000 like actress supermodel look.
Oh, yeah.
Very like Britney Spears-esque
Yeah,
inspired.
she's wearing like a tight low-cut top, tight pants. She's wearing fucking Uggs,
Yeah.
And she's trussed up. She's unconscious in the trunk.
And it's great because at first you think she's going to be very like damsel in distress. And they play with that like perception.
Such is not the case.
Yeah.
But I like the interaction because it doesn't spell out what's happening right away. Because they come in and they're kind of like turning on the lights. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're putting a kettle on because they're fucking British.
They gotta.
But David, no, it was Peter. Mm-hmm. He lights a cigarette and then gives it to the other man.
Yep.
And then he lights his own cigarette. So that gives you a little bit of information right there that they're close.
Yeah, and you can tell kind of who's in charge.
Yeah. So Peter's kind of talking about his wife, and Peter is the nerdy, nebbish one of the two.
Yeah.
He's wearing glasses. He's smaller,
Not imposing at all.
And Andy Serkis plays a good tough guy.
Mm-hmm. He does. He should do more crime stuff like
right.
this.
And Peter is talking about his wife and how he isn't used to deception like David is. And he says they're going to go to hell for what they're doing. And David's like, shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah, and kind of what we piece together is they're brothers, first of all.
Yep.
And then the woman is the stepdaughter of Arnie, a guy who's this underworld crime boss.
Yes. They
apparently
kidnapped her. They're going to hold her for ransom.
Yeah, David's had some dealings with in the past, and I guess he's ready to kind of cut and run. So
right.
It's sort of that one last job kind of energy to it.
Yeah, so we quickly get the impression they don't really want to hurt her. They just want the money.
Yep.
They're going to fucking disappear. Because apparently the deal is David is living in their mother's house.
Yeah, the family home.
Who is deceased. And Peter really wants it. He's got a family. And so David's like, okay, you get the house, I get the money, and I'm just going to fucking disappear.
He says, I'll never bother you again in your life.
Right. And he tells Peter to go get the woman in the car, but put on your mask first. Peter also sees a moth.
We learned that he does not like bugs, and I can relate to this.
Yeah, well, they're sitting around this old rickety table. There's like one single light above it, and he sees a moth fluttering around, and he says, I'm going to leave if you don't take care of it. And David quickly kills the moth, and Peter's like, you didn't have to kill it. So they're getting the girl upstairs. They're going to put her in the bedroom, tie her up. Fine. But they're getting her upstairs, and Peter's kind of holding her for a moment while David goes to get a key because the door is locked up there. And there's this great POV shot, like through the mask. It's like Michael in Halloween or something. And he's like looking at her. She's unconscious. She's gagged. He's like looking down toward her tits, looks back up at her, back to her tits, back up to her, and suddenly she's staring at him. It's fucking headbutts him, crushes his nose in. And David hears the commotion. He runs upstairs, and he's getting his ass kicked by this girl with her hands literally tied behind her back.
And we learn that she's kind of foul-mouthed and kind of badass.
Very much so. Yeah. They get her into the room, lock her up. Peter's nose is broken. So David has to set it. And there's some dialogue here about how Peter always gets hurt around David.
Yeah.
And he says, this is just like the greenhouse. So whatever happened in this greenhouse is a point of contention between the two of them.
It's a little sore spot.
Yeah. So then we cut to a man named Andrew going into a strip club. And notably, everyone's talking about his haircut.
Yeah.
It's like, nice haircut, Andrew. Everyone. Like the bouncer, some of the dancers, everybody. And it's just one of those nice little things that has a little payoff later.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention...
There's a lot like that, like the moth, seeing that in the opening.
Yeah.
You don't really know the significance, and then they chain on that.
All right. So he's the son of Arnie.
Yep, and he's a little dull, you might say.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. He is obviously like clumsy and not very with it.
He's the kind that kind of screws everything up and just can't get things together.
He's not very savvy. And he's told to wait outside the office. Meanwhile, there's a scene where David goes over with Peter what to say to the girl.
Yep.
Because he needs Peter to call Arnie because Arnie knows David, knows his voice and everything.
Needs to keep his involvement out of it.
Yep. So David can't say anything around the girl, whose name, what was her name again? I'm sorry.
Tracy.
Tracy, thank you, yes. Yep. So they're going up there, and again, English, so they offer her tea, and she just immediately starts shit-talking them. Immediately.
I love too the scene right before they go up there when he's practicing, and he says it once, and then David's just like, "No, that's not it. You have to more anger, more aggression."
David's telling him to say like, either you behave or I break your fingers. And he has to keep getting angrier and angrier each time. But Peter's up there and says something about how either you behave or my friend David here is going to have to break your fingers. And there's this great shot of David just slow turning his head over to Peter, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and at this point I was like, okay, you know what? This is like a really funny film about like a crime gone wrong. But I'm like, where's the horror though?
Yeah,
so you're still kind of on edge waiting for that.
Right.
And so Arnie gives Andrew the bag with the money and says, go exchange the money for Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know when you've got her and bring her back.
Right. So he drives off, but he's being followed by a pair of goons.
Yeah.
And they follow him to the house. They pull up in the woods, and they're watching him.
And this is where we learn that Andrew's actually in on the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is where we get some information about how David's going to give up the house. And Andrew wants the money so he won't be under the heel of his father any longer.
Yeah. It's going to fix all their lives.
And there's this great scene where... because they're all looking at the bag sitting on the table that's supposed to be full of money. And David's like, what's it look like? And then she says, I don't know, I didn't open it. David's like, oh, fuck.
Immediately, yeah, he gets that, like, nagging feeling of, like, oh,
and I love this movie. I love how Circus plays. Like, he's, like, constantly aggravated. Like, his aggravation just gets higher and higher and higher throughout the whole movie. So they open it, and, yeah, it's just full of tissue paper.
Yeah. And it turns out that they already knew that Andrew was their man on the inside.
Yeah, and there's this great scene because it cuts to the exterior of the house, and you hear David just yelling in anger. And then the goons spying on the house said, maybe fuckface finally looked in the bag.
Yeah, so those two dudes, we never really get their names, do we? I don't think. They're just kind of like rando assassins.
We do get their names at one
do?
point. Yeah, it is. Hang on. It is Chun Yu Fu and Mook Lee San.
And they're basically hitmen.
Yep.
They were sent there to kill everyone and get Tracy secured.
Mm-hmm. And the one guy's really fucking anxious to cut some motherfuckers. He keeps saying that.
So inside the cottage, David's kind of spiraling at this point. They got to get control of this situation. And so he tells Peter, take the cell phone, go outside, call... And, shake up the, let them know that we found out it was fake and we want the money. We're super serious.
Mm-hmm.
And he was some like new meeting place he gives them or something and tells them to bring the money there.
Yeah.
Which Peter goes to do. And like, there's like a little pond by the cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he's kind of walking at the edge of the pond, nice night, making the phone call. And then what happened? Something happened that like he drops it.
Yeah, Stacy gets her gag off and starts screaming, and he was calling his wife to get their bank account number because none of them have a bank account.
That was the big confusion.
Yeah. To put the money into. So the scream startles him. He drops it whoosh into the water. And there's also a funny bit where David sends up Andrew to check on Tracy. And he says, you got your mask right? He says, yes. He puts on his mask, and he comes back and says, I got the wrong one. And it's just, it exposes his entire face. It just covers his head. And another great exasperated scene from Andy Serkis here. And so, like, Arnie, or not Arnie, but Andrew's kind of, like, spying on his sister and through the keyhole, and she knows he's there.
Right, because she would be his, stepsister?
Stepsister, yeah.
He's got some weird feelings toward her.
Yeah.
So, reluctantly, the only thing that David can do is he's going to have to go use a payphone in the little village the cottage is near.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of settle out and square up this deal.
Yep.
So he takes the car and goes off on that little excursion.
Leaves these two idiots in charge of Stacy.
Gives them some explicit instructions.
Yeah. And so the henchmen see him driving off, and they call Arnie, and they get some instructions. Arnie's on his way, and they are to kill the man they have in the back. And we kind of pan over, and they've got some dude trussed up in the back, and he's all bloody and stuff. So then one of the guys takes the dude off into the woods. And at the payphone, there's this funny bit where David calls Arnie, and he says, "Oh yeah, thanks for that. You never know when you're going to need a tissue." And he's like, "The game's up. There's no point in trying to,
It's a good confrontation.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, give me the money. You'll get Tracy, blah, blah, blah. He gets off the phone, but then all these villagers have kind of surrounded him.
Yes. It's so funny. And this is where we get our Doug Bradley cameo.
Yeah.
He is the villager with the dog.
Yep. And this is where we start to think, oh, okay, this might be a horror movie. Is this a horror movie?
Like creepy villager kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And they're all like, oh, you're up at the, what was
the Barnaby Cottage.
The Barnaby Cottage, yeah. And
they say, it's dangerous to be roaming out in that area at night. So when you go back up there, lock your doors and don't go outside and wander around no matter what you do.
Yep. He says strangers don't fare well here. Mm-hmm. So one of the goons is looking for the other one after hearing some screaming, and he sees the dude dead. He sees his cleaver bloodied and buried into a tree.
Yep.
David finally gets back to the cottage. There's a car alarm's going off, and the door's wide open. Andrew is unconscious on the floor, and his brother and Stacy are missing.
Yeah.
And David's like, what the fuck happened while I was gone? So we get this flashback, and it's done in a really funny manner, where Andrew's talking about how Tracy said she wanted to use the bathroom.
They debated whether they should let her or not. And
right.
They finally decided they can't deny her that.
Right. But they didn't want to untie her, so they're both in the bathroom with her. And it's this little tiny bathroom. There's this great shot of them like standing right next to each other looking down at her. But she's talking about how, she needs to wipe. You have to untie my hands.
Or one of you do it.
Yeah, one of you do it. And yeah, they didn't want to do that. So Peter is like going down to untie her, but then he starts freaking out.
The moth.
Yeah.
The moth.
Yeah. And we just see Peter kind of like flailing in the flashback. And David's just like, was there a moth?
He already knows.
Yeah. And Andrew's like, yeah, there was. So they're all distracted, and Stacy just starts kicking ass.
Yeah. Still tied up partially.
Yeah. She like just knocks the door down, and Andrew with it. And there's this funny shot of Peter like trying to crawl out of the bathroom, and she just drags him back in.
So then we jump to Peter and Tracy. She's got him captured. He's tied up now. And she's kind of guiding him through the woods, looking for like another house or a phone or somewhere they can like call for help. And that's when they stumble upon a abandoned looking farm. Mm-hmm. Little farmhouse. There's a barn nearby.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the man who was tied up with the goons, he comes rushing into the house. Mm-hmm. And his name's Steven. And Andrew says, like, I just saw him this morning. He cuts my hair. Which is why everyone at the club was like, nice haircut. Because they knew all about this already.
Yep, he told them.
Yeah. So Andrew admits that he told Steven all about the plan. And Steven says he was kidnapped by... There's this funny scene where he's like... He doesn't know if they're Chinese or Korean.
Yeah.
And both David and Andrew realize that it's Mook Lee and Chun Yu who are notorious assassins, apparently. And they're like, fuck. And Steven says, don't go out there or you'll die. And he promptly dies. And we see that his belly is split open and his guts are all falling out.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And that was where I started to be like, oh, okay, this is going to be a little more gory than your average slasher. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and there is some decent gore in there.
Yeah.
So David's like, they don't have much time. We have to go find him. And he goes back to where he put his knife, but the knife is gone.
Yeah.
Because Tracy has it.
Yep. Yeah. It's threatening Peter with it. So they kind of get in that farmhouse and start exploring. She's looking for a phone. And Peter's noticing there's some weird stuff in there.
Yeah, the place is a mess. We see that Peter walks over a trap door in the kitchen floor, but he doesn't really notice it.
Yeah. I was waiting for a little Evil Dead action.
Yeah. And they go into this room where there's like hundreds of different pictures on the wall. Mm-hmm. And like there's an old phonograph playing. And all these pictures, they're like Polaroids and just different odd things with different people in all of them. Mm-hmm. And Stacy's like, I'm going to go upstairs to find a phone. And David's like, well, how do you know I'm not just going to run away? Stacy just kicks him in the balls, and he crumples to the floor. And we see one of the goons' gloves burning in the fireplace.
Yeah, it's the one hint that something's going on at the farmhouse.
So David and Andrew are in pursuit, and they find Mookley strung up between a couple of trees with his throat slit.
Yeah, so you know something's going on.
Something's up there. Someone's out there.
Clearly what the villagers were warning them about.
Yep. So Stacy's wandering up there in this old creepy bedroom. She finds this suitcase. She opens it up. We don't really see what's in it, but we see like a look of disgust on her face.
Yeah.
And scratched on the front of the case says, "You will never leave me." Mm-hmm. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, disturbing.
Meanwhile, Peter walks into a room full of moths and freaks out. He then sees something and sees the trap door, because the trap door is kind of like budging. You know, you hear something beneath it.
Yeah. So it makes him want to investigate.
Mm-hmm. He calls Tracy down. She comes down, opens up the trap door. There's nothing there but some stairs going down.
Some kind of cellar or something.
Yeah, but so at this point, Peter had gotten like some frozen peas out of the freezer to put onto his jaw that she had fucking broken almost. And there's a shot of her looking beyond him into the freezer, and there's like just a bunch of hands stacked in there.
And they have that slow moment of her just being like, "Oh."
Yep.
It all sinks in.
And then suddenly there's this blade coming out from her side, from behind her. And this big lumbering disfigured man in overalls and a big knife comes up. And he's chasing Peter through the house. Peter locks himself into a room, escapes out the window.
Yeah, he runs upstairs.
Yeah.
Dives out the window.
Right. And the killer here is known as the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So he breaks down the door and he's in pursuit. So Peter's running away, but then Stacy stumbles out. She's still alive.
Yep. She's not dead yet.
She's like, "Come back here. You know, if you don't help me, I'm going to tell my dad and he's going to fucking kill you."
And it's funny because, you know, if she dies, she's not telling anyone anything.
Right, yeah. But, you know, Peter's kind of a gentle soul. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. So the farmer's like on Tracy about to kill her, but then he comes, whaps with him with a shovel, whaps the farmer with a shovel. The farmer falls down.
And then we get a very classic, like, kind of meta-aware of the tropes moment where she urges him, like, "Go ahead, kill him, use the shovel, take his head off.
Yeah.
We got to be sure."
And she's just giving him shit. She's like, "Kill him, you pussy, do it."
And he's so hesitant to do it.
He doesn't want to kill him. And then suddenly we see the shovel go through the front of his foot. And it just cuts the front of his foot off. And of course he screams, falls to the ground. And the farmer gets up and is approaching Peter, taking his time, as slashers do.
Oh, yeah.
And then Stacy starts fucking berating the farmer. He's like, "Hurry up, kill him, do it." Starts calling him all these horrible names. And there's this, while she's berating them, the farmer's looking down at Peter, and Peter does the whole shrug motion, like, "What are you going to do?" Yeah.
And then it's great because he just spins around and uses the shovel to lop her head off. But it's like a creepy, like, at the mouth where he makes the cut.
Yeah, right.
So it's like the top part of her head.
Mm-hmm. And she falls to the ground, and he just, like, finishes it and splits her head off.
And then Peter loses his shit at this moment, which is great acting on the guy's part. Like, he really sells it.
He does, yeah.
And the farmer just knocks him the fuck out.
Knocks him out.
And then takes him and by his jacket hangs him from a meat hook.
Yep.
Very Texas Chainsaw vibes.
Yeah, at least it wasn't through his back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, David finds Peter's wallet that had fallen out when they were crossing the gate, so he knows that they're close. And Andrew was talking about how maybe they shouldn't be walking through some strange farm because they use traps. And then bam, he steps into a trap.
Good
closes
Lord,
on his foot.
So yeah, this part's great because David leans down and kind of burges and starts to wrench it open for him to move, and gets it all the way open, and then he just leaves himself there, doesn't move at all, and so he just lets it go and lets it clamp back again.
So Andrew's limping after David. They get into the courtyard of this farmhouse.
They decide to check the actual like little shed that's out there.
Yeah, But David finds Peter's foot.
Yeah.
He finds the end of his boot, and he says, I think this is.
It's
Peter's
a cool
shoe.
prop because it's like the end of the boot, and then the foot is like.
Yeah, because he turns it over, and then the toes fall out still in the sock.
Really cool.
Yeah.
But they check the shed, and it's just full of severed heads. So.
Yep. And David sees that there's all these news clippings collected. Something about a farmer being disfigured in an accident. Some creepy photos. And there's like journals of some of the victims and stuff.
After the disfigurement, there's family photos, and you can see that he's like scratched out his face in the pictures.
Yeah. And there's pictures of strangers, people who aren't his wife that we see in previous pictures, that he's basically kind of forcing to marry him.
Yeah.
So you know where that's going.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like maybe the family tried to leave, and then
he killed them.
Went crazy.
And then he just keeps collecting new brides and shit. So Andrew and David both find a piece of Tracy. Finds out that she's dead. Andrew's putting on a jacket he finds because he's complaining that it's cold, and it's one of the jackets that one of the goons was wearing.
Yes.
And he turns on the light, and that's where we see the row of heads just stacked everywhere. And the farmer's doing that classic bit where he's hiding amongst all the rotting heads.
Yeah, and he snaps his eyes open.
Yeah. And then he starts attacking everybody.
And they kind of rush outside, and we get kind of in that little courtyard area, a little showdown. And it's pretty fucking brutal. The farmer has a pickaxe.
Yeah, pickaxe. It goes right into David's leg.
And like pins him to the ground.
Yeah, he's pinned to the ground with it. Andrew's trying to get away, steps on a rake.
Another classic bit.
And the farmer is like grabbing Andrew and is like partially scalping him. Andrew's hobbling off. The farmer goes after him.
They go to like some horse stables, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew's kind of hiding, and his phone's going off in his pocket. And it's Morse code, too, for SOS. And he answers it, and it's his dad, and he's telling him to come quick. He says that Tracy's dead. And then the farmer rushes out and slices Andrew with an upward swing right between his legs.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Then he like rips his spine out, right?
Yeah, he does the whole Predator thing where he rips his spine out. Yeah. Even screams, too. Yeah. Definitely Predator homage. So Peter wakes up. He's hanging on the hook thing. He's calling up to David. David's pinned to the ground. Peter manages to get down and crawls toward David. And because it's just, like David's in the foreground of the shot, and you see Peter crawling slowly after. He's like, I'm coming, David. Oh, this is taking ages. So Peter pulls a pickaxe out of David, and they're both laying there, pretty much resigned to death. They're both bloody, bleeding out.
And they get this sweet little moment where they make up.
They're kind of apologizing to one another. He's like, I'm sorry I dragged you into this, and all that stuff. But then David gets up after hearing Andrew scream from being killed. He's like, fuck it, we're not dying.
He's like, you're going to get Mom's house, I'm going to get my money.
Yeah, we're going to be happy.
We deserve it.
They get into the house, and they're looking for a phone. David smells the same stench that Tracy did, goes up to that room, and that's where he sees like more of the pictures on the wall. And we really get the hint that this farmer is abducting people and forcing them to basically be his wife.
He just wants a family.
Yeah. Peter's down near the kitchen, hears chains rattling again in the basement. And David sees the farmer approaching the house from the upstairs window. He's going downstairs to warn Peter. Another tussle in the kitchen. The farmer attacks both of them.
It's a cool entrance, too, because he throws Andrew's head at him.
Yeah. And they're fighting, and David grabs like a photo book of the family that we saw before. And he's kind of piecing things together. And he's threatening to rip up the picture of the farmer because he had scratched out his own face because he's all disfigured now.
Yeah.
Rip up the farmer and his wife. He's threatening to destroy this picture if the farmer doesn't, let them go. However, the farmer's kind of hesitating, kind of going along with it. David's telling him to get down to the cellar, but the farmer doesn't do it.
I liked it because it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, let's do the Friday the 13th Part 2 thing where it's like the psychological angle.
Yeah.
But it's like, what if that gambit doesn't work, though?
Right. Right, yeah. And it was working for a bit, but I think the farmer just got too pissed. He grabs the pickaxe, slams it right into David's chest.
Yep. And
kills him.
David's done at
Yep.
that point.
And the farmer's trying to piece together the picture. He's more worried about it than anything else.
And Peter finally snaps.
Yeah. He reached his limit. He attacks. He's got a rope, and he's trying to strangle him from behind. The farmer's fighting with him, struggling, and Peter gets knocked downstairs, and the door shuts on him. But that rope is still around the farmer's neck.
Oh, yeah.
So Peter's just down there tugging on the rope while the farmer is getting strangled.
And eventually the farmer drops.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's dead or if he just passed out
And he's
or
struggling,
what.
and this big china cabinet comes falling down on him, too.
Yeah. Which unfortunately has trapped him in the basement.
Yes, Peter cannot get out of the basement.
And so he's like, well, I guess I'll just see what's in the cellar then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's dark.
Yeah, it's dark. So he gets his lighter out, and he's walking along, and he stops, and all around him you see, like, the kidnapped women we see from the pictures, and they're, like, feasting on body parts.
Yep.
And he literally says, he must be joking. And they all attack him, and the screen goes black.
Yep.
While a jaunty tune plays.
Great little ending.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not done.
No, we get a little post-credit stinger.
And this shocked me because I was like, I wouldn't expect this to have a post-credits thing.
Yeah.
But it does, and it's fucking great.
Yeah, because Arnie finally gets there.
Yeah, we knew he was coming.
Mm-hmm. It's in the morning, and he's walking around, and they're approaching the farmhouse. And the farmer runs out with his pickaxe. He ain't fucking dead.
He screams, he raises it high, and then we fade to black.
Yep.
Great little ending.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It is.
I got some background on this.
Yeah.
So Paul Andrew Williams, he had a good debut, a good start. He got the New Directors Award for his film London to Brighton in 2006 at the Edinburgh International Film Festival.
Cool.
He has a connection to our podcast that I didn't realize till I got to researching.
Oh?
He was the writer of The Children. A film that you selected that we covered before.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember you not liking that so much.
Not so much. I didn't hate it, though.
You didn't hate it. It wasn't The Grifters.
Yeah. Had some qualities to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the parts about that were really funny, then I was kind of like, oh, okay, this guy's got a good ability to mix, like, horror and comedy together.
Right.
Let's see what else.
I got one.
Okay, sure.
There were some deleted scenes.
Oh, really?
And there's an actor named Johnny Harris who's credited as Smoking Joe.
Don't remember Smoking Joe.
Exactly. His scenes were cut. And rightly so, because the deleted scenes on the DVD show Smoking Joe kind of near the beginning of the movie.
Uh-huh.
And he's another man in cahoots with David.
Oh.
And he's like scouted out the place. He says, I found a good place. This is where you should bring her. But it ruins it because we see him get killed by somebody.
Oh. Well, they were right to cut it then, I think. Yeah.
Because then the jig's up and you know it's a slasher flick.
For sure, yeah. Huh. This has decent reviews. It's got a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, it's not too bad.
Most critics of the time gave it positive reviews. A lot of the criticism had to do with, like, pacing issues. Some people said it was too slow to get to, like, the spooky part.
Bullshit. As long as it's entertaining, which this was, I don't
Yeah.
think it took too long to get to the spooky
I think
part.
it earns it because it builds you up.
Right.
And then it, like, explodes into the
Yeah.
horrific
It
parts.
reminds me of From Dusk Till Dawn
Yeah.
a lot because the first part's like the crime thriller and then it becomes a horror film.
Yeah, just hard swerves
Yeah.
into the horror. I pulled a little quote from Empire, their review of the film. They said of it, Fright Fest regulars and hungry gorehounds will get a kick out of this, but those who held Williams as a Brit indie visionary after London to Brighton might be left scratching their heads with this one. So that was a lot of the criticism I saw, is just people kind of liked Williams for doing like this indie stuff.
Yeah, but then he does a horror film and suddenly
Suddenly
usually it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Usually you do your horror film first.
And then you earn the prestige. Yeah.
Arnie at the end is played by Steven Berkoff. And you've seen this guy. I guarantee you've seen this guy. Because
Good actor.
He is known for largely villainous roles, including General Orlov in a James Bond film Octopussy.
Oh, okay.
And he was a bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop.
Solid.
He was a bad Russian guy in Rambo: First Blood Part 2. And he even played Adolf Hitler in War and Remembrance. So you've seen him in Rambo, I guarantee it, Octopussy, Beverly Hills Cop. You've seen him.
I mean, when you see him in this film, immediately you're like, he's perfectly cast for this role.
Yeah.
It just works.
Great character actor.
And then as far as Williams' like other stuff, I hadn't really seen anything in his catalog. Had you?
No, I had not.
He does have another horror film I know, Cherry Tree Lane, that came out in 2010.
Yeah, I do not know that one.
I remember seeing the box, like the DVD box, all the time places, like the end of video stores existing type stuff, and it has an abysmal ratings online. So
yeah, I'm not familiar with that one at all.
People say it's like a riff of Funny Games. I don't know, but
I might check it out though.
I'm intrigued. I would watch it.
So he's done a lot of TV work since then, including Broadchurch, which is a really great series. If you've never seen that,
I have not.
It's very good.
So yeah, you picked this.
I did.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked this right when I saw it. It stuck out to me because at that time, those early mid 2000s, it was just all like Japanese remakes.
Sure,
it was what we had here. I don't think American horror really got good until after maybe like after 2010. I think we were just it was just too much imitation.
Yeah.
We were remaking too many movies. Nothing was really original. I think American horror film was trying to find its identity. So the best stuff was being done in Japan, France.
Because the torture porn thing had kind of run its course by then.
Right. And there was the French New Wave of horror film. That was amazing.
Yeah, really all the interesting stuff was foreign at the time.
Yeah. So this was something, of course, it's foreign, but it was also like refreshing.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different. It was not groundbreaking, but it was very well made and amusing, and it wasn't just a fucking Japanese remake, or a remake of a Japanese film. So that was great. I like that. Andy Serkis is great. There's just something about him I really like. He's such a compelling performer, I think. He brings a real authenticity to anything he does.
He does. And it's cool to think of him now as like such a big actor, and then to see him in this is cool.
He's like a big director now and everything,
Killer. What would you rate it?
I give this 4 stars.
Solid.
Yeah.
Any reason for the 5th star?
Because I guess, like I said, it's not groundbreaking.
Sure.
It's not something that you're going to always remember.
Right.
It's not going to be, you're not going to go back and watch it every year. Like, I probably haven't seen this since it came out, but it did stick in my head. It's one of those movies I never hear anyone talking about, and it's so much fun. It's funny.
I loved it, yeah.
I like the look of the farmer.
It's a great design.
It's got this cool disfigured look. It's not overdone. It's not like Victor Crowley or something where it's just too much. I never liked that design. I found it too messy.
I mean, it's no, what's the guy from Muck, Grossum Krudel, but...
Fuck you, yeah. No, it's not him. Definitely ain't him.
Stand for Muck every day. I regret that I didn't do the Kickstarter and get some of the BS like T-shirts and shit they made.
Oh, Jesus. All right, fair enough. It's just altogether a fun movie.
Cool.
What'd you think, man?
It surprised me because again, it caught me off guard. There's kind of this tonal consistency that's like drifting around, where it's got this comedic energy at the first with that Danny Elfman like score.
Yeah, you're like, what is this?
Then you settle into like it's mostly a crime film, but with some comedic elements mixed in, and then it really just like hard curves you into that horror part. The start, I was getting very much like this vibe of like it's kind of a Coen Brothers crime film, smashed up with a bit of writing from Edgar Wright to get those little comedic bits in there.
Right.
Just that whole vibe of like you have these idiosyncratic characters and they're doing a crime and it's going wrong, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and everything turns sideways.
Right.
But then and then it just veers off into brutal slasher land. I thought Tracy was a really cool character because she's definitely the type of character that like could easily be very throwaway and forgettable.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just your TNA for the film.
Apparently, the director said that he had written the part for like a 40-year-old woman.
Oh.
But he had to make her a younger, more attractive character to get more money to make the movie.
And they definitely lean into it in the marketing, because you showed me the DVD, and on the back cover they have like the portraits, and they're like framed in these square like little like design pieces, and they make her boobs like spill out of it.
Yeah, they're hanging over the frame. Yeah,
which is hilarious.
Amazing. It's great.
Tells you a lot about the humor in the film.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see her not be a damsel in distress at all. She's a total badass.
Yeah.
She flips everything on them. I mean, nothing really ever stops her or bodies her until the fucking farmer, who's just unstoppable.
Yeah.
Loved the village scene. I thought that was so funny. Very classic, like, ooh, creepy villager
Yeah, the
moment.
whole Harbinger scene. Yeah.
But yet they managed to make it funny at the same time.
Always great to see Doug Bradley.
Oh, yeah, I love him. Farmer has a great design, like you said. Super cool looking. I liked how his backstory was more tragic once you finally got the pieces together of what was going on.
And it didn't spill everything out. Yeah. There's not like some old drunkard on the farm who's like, oh, yeah, that's old so-and-so, and he... It trusts the audience to come to your own conclusions, you know?
But it gave me that like classical like Jason Voorhees vibe, where it's like, I mean, yeah, he's a slasher or killer. He's offing people, but you also kind of feel sorry for him at the same time.
Plus, they were on his farm.
Yeah, they were trespassing. Fuck those guys. And so by the end, I was like, I kind of get why it's some places online treat it as a, quote, extreme horror film. I do think the gore's a little more than like what another slasher for 2008 would have shown.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. I like that they were really kind of pushing it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's anywhere in the extreme category.
But I would not call it an extreme horror film at all.
Good Lord, no.
The gore is higher than you would expect for this type of film, and that's cool and welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Love the bleak ending, downer ending. I think you have to have that because...
Oh, yeah.
With the crime plot, there's sort of that thing, you know, of like no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like they had to fail. It had to go wrong somehow.
I mean, Peter did say they're going to go to hell for this.
No. And then, post-credit scene, kind of before that became the norm to always do. And
wasn't quite as common then.
It was fun. I could easily see them doing sequels and sequels of this and run it into the ground. They chose not to. That's also cool.
Right. Maybe if it made more money, they would
probably
have. But also, it doesn't need it.
No.
You know, it's a great one and done.
And you pretty much know what's going to happen there with, Boss Arnie coming in. They're all going to die.
He's fucked.
So I gave this 4 stars.
Hey, we're in agreement.
For exactly the reason that you said you couldn't go to the 5. It's a great film. It's a fun film. It's a cool synthesis of a lot of things we love.
Yeah.
But it's not like visionary or groundbreaking. It just takes all these things that you love if you're a genre film fan, smashes them together, and does it in a cool, very slick, presentable way.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's awesome. And there's nothing wrong with just doing that and not reaching for some...
Yeah, just making a great, solid movie. I had a feeling you would enjoy it, and I'm glad you did. And I don't have to berate you and use the word egregious too many times.
Oh, man, that was another thing in that little, like, mini review of our show that he mentioned you using the word egregious, and he thought that was funny. And then it made me think about all the times you say egregious regularly. It's like one of your things.
It's, yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's such a useful word.
But that's The Cottage. It's super cool. Track it down if you can. Give it a watch.
Go to Half Price Books. You'll probably find it for $3.
Probably. And then, put that energy out there. Let's manifest the Blu-ray.
Blu-ray commentary track. The DVD did not have a commentary.
Yeah. Get Andy Serkis in the booth.
Yeah. He's not that busy. I mean, what's he doing? Is he directing a new movie or something? I don't think so. Is he starring as Gollum again in something?
Oh, there is that new Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah, Hunt for Gollum.
Yeah. Yep. Is that going to be like 3 fucking films or something?
Probably. I really hope not.
Cool. Well, that one's in the books.
Yep. Next pick is yours, my friend.
It is. Good choice, my friend.
Thank you.
I went in a weird direction for this one.
Uh-oh. Am I going to get upset?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I had a few weird cravings when I was like, where do we go next from here?
Mm-hmm.
And I had in my mind, I want an older film. I want kind of a classical feel.
Okay.
I'm ready to go back to Japan.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling
watching all this anime and stuff and
yeah.
Getting hyped on that. And I was like, we haven't really done a Japanese film this year yet.
It's been a little while.
It's like, I don't think I'm ready to go for the Pinku thing yet. We got more of the year left. Don't worry.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have a little summer of love or something.
Plenty of red rope.
We'll save that. And then I had in my mind something that you talked about at the start of the year is like focusing on like weird things you can find on streaming. So I had in my mind like what's on Tubi that I could find because they have a lot of foreign films.
They do.
They accept weird little rights to stuff.
Yeah.
I just went down a rabbit hole for a day, like digging and digging and digging.
Uh-oh.
And for us, I have selected a Kenji Fukasaku film.
Okay.
If you know Fukasaku, he's a pretty famous Japanese director. He's worked in a lot of different genres. But what he's most known for are his crime films, particularly his Yakuza films. He did the very famous Battles Without Honor and Humanity series in the 70s, which was based on real accounts of Yakuza activity in Japan.
Is this the Battle Royale director?
He is, yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's got a very storied career.
Okay. I fucking love Battle Royale.
He's kind of known for like pioneering like cinema verite techniques. He was real big on shaky cam. He was kind of one of the pioneers on doing that kind of stuff in the 70s.
Okay. All right.
And I picked one of his films that they have on Tubi from 1969.
Oh.
Japan Organized Crime Boss.
That sounds like a mistranslation of something.
That is the title.
Okay.
And it is based on real crime events that happened, like Battles Without Honor and Humanity. I think actually the direct Japanese translation of the title is something like Japan's Violent Gangs Boss.
Okay.
Which is a bit of a word salad in English, unfortunately. So they chose what they did, which is fine. Let me hit you with a synopsis on this.
Okay.
Coming out of jail and hoping for a quiet life, a Yokohama Yakuza has to take the lead of his gang after the death of their boss. His small group is taken in a crossfire between a big Yakuza group from Osaka at war with the Tokyo Alliance for control of the city. He tries to keep to the old Yakuza code, but he is no match for the new thugs who live and fight without honor.
All right. Have you seen this?
I have never seen this, no.
So it's a blind watch for you.
Fukasaku is like legendary. He's done tons of stuff. We'll definitely talk about that next time, some of the things he got into. I've seen a lot of his Yakuza films. I've never seen this one in particular. It had been on my radar because there's a label called Radiance Films. I think they're based out of England, I'm pretty sure. And I've been following them for a while because they do a lot of Japanese films. And I'd always been hoping they would start like a U.S. branch. Because, I mean, I do have a region-free player. I can just get whatever. It doesn't matter. But I like the idea that they're getting American releases so that, like, they're there, you know? If you're a collector and you're, like, exploring, you can stumble into these and find them and unlock that new world and enjoy stuff. So this is actually one of their recent U.S. Blu-ray releases.
Okay.
Which I assume is probably the print that is on Tubi.
I would imagine. Hey, check out this badass still from the movie. It's like a dude in a suit. It's kind of a Dutch angle going on, and he's lighting a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
It looks badass.
He does all kinds of cool camera angles in his films. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, this has got me excited.
So buckle the fuck up for that. We'll get into cool Yakuza shit. Talk about a little of Fukasaku's career, some of our favorites maybe.
And it's not 4 hours long. It's like an hour 37.
Yeah, solid 97 minutes.
All right.
And it's on Tubi, so you can watch it before we chat about it and see how we compare to your thoughts, or you can listen to us and decide if you want to go at it, but it's easy to get to.
Yeah, it's free.
Free.
Sit through a couple of commercials.
Couple
It's no
ads.
big deal.
Tubi is pretty generous with their ads, I find.
Yeah.
They never stay their welcome too long.
They honestly have a great selection of movies.
And then also just a side little piece to close us out on this. Cast list, I noticed near the top is Bunta Sugawara.
Mm-hmm.
Very famous Japanese actor, great Yakuza character, and I think we've seen him in some other stuff because he was also in Star of David, Beauty Hunting, which is one of the Pink films that we have covered.
Sure is.
And he has a very noticeable, very like steely look to his face, so I'm sure we'll pick him out immediately when we check this film out.
Nice. All right, looking forward to it.
Cool. So enjoy. Go seek out The Cottage if you can find it, and then join us the next time for Japan Organized Crime Boss.
Sweet.
Otherwise, you can reach out to us. Let us know what you've been watching. Let us know what you've been checking out. We're still taking requests. We're going to pepper those in as we can. The reservoir is kind of low, so now is your time to shine. If you have a movie you champion, a movie you love, one you think doesn't get talked about enough, one you want to put attention to, one that you want to use the power of manifestation and try to get the Blu-ray. We've done it before. We can do it again.
Yeah.
We just all got to work together and get people talking about them. So let's do it. Send us your recommendations. You can do it anytime. You can hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or email us at genreexposure@gmail.com. Otherwise, you have been listening to Genre Exposure.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.